Just do my homework. Just trying to work out exactly what it takes. This one, thanks, mate. What it's going to take for the Boro to manage it through to Wembley and be successful and come home. Unlike that day we had down south against Norwich. We've got Adamski, we've got Filsby, and Davesky. I've gone very Russian, haven't I? All of a sudden, it's not Russian. I promise. It's Ukrainian. Because we do like the yellow and blue and we are in support. So let's get politics straight to the fore. Fellas, another set of points dropped. Bristol City was always going to be difficult because Big Nige was always going to have his team wound up to high heaven because the Boro were coming to town because he still feels a bit miffed about how things ended when he was at the Boro. So I don't know. Phil. Point gained because we were 2-0 down, 2 points lost. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I sort of expected to go there like every other Boro fan and come away with 3 points. More than happy with the draw based on the first half performance. But then there's a part of me that thinks, Archer had a goal ruled out. Akpom missed that header in the first half. Another header. Yeah, so I suppose I'm happy that we've come away with 1 point than none. One point is something, I guess.
Where are you, Matty? Are you in the same camp or still an opportunity lost?
Literally 3 weeks ago, I thought we were going to catch Sheffield United.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought we were going to hunt them down. I thought we were going to be unbeatable. I thought we'd beat Burnley. And so I've gone from feeling, yes, we have probably dropped points, but actually the way the game turned out, I do think we got a point out of it because we were in absolute danger of falling apart again, which we have done a couple of times now, which is very un-Carrick-like. Yeah. Very un-Boro, dare I say, untypical Boro?
I'm the kiss of death because I sat on this show. We finally decided to resurrect the old. What are we calling it, anyways? It's still Red Army, is it?
Is it Red Army on the red?
Red Army on the red. Who gives a toss? Whatever it's called. And I sat here ahead of the Huddersfield game, and I went, the difference between Boro now and Boro then is we don't slip on banana skins, and we're not. Huddersfield are not good enough. Oh no, we're too good. I think was my phrase. We're too good to lose to Huddersfield, and look what's happened since.
However, in retrospect, in hindsight, 2020 is good, isn't it? That wasn't perhaps as big a shock as we thought at the time because they've gone on to do really, really well. Huddersfield. Warnock's gone in and really given the rocket they needed. So yes, perhaps a couple of the goals we could have done a bit better on. We're going to talk about defensive errors, I think, at some point, aren't we, Phil?
If we have to. I've got my stats.
It probably wasn't as crazy a result because he's actually got them playing quite well now and they look like they might stay up still.
Yeah. What concerns me a lot, though, a couple of things. And I've gone from absolute optimist, which I was before that Huddersfield game, stating the bloody obvious, which crashed and burned, to now being the eternal pessimist because I'm now thinking, God, 3 games without a win. But it's 3 not so good performances. I mean, at times we've been woeful. And we're now seeing Akpom miss goals that he would have buried, across that 2/3 of the season. So I'm just a little bit worried at the moment. I don't know whether you guys are or not.
I think you've got to take stock of where we were 13 games into the season, where we're second bottom, absolute no direction.
And I get exactly where you're going, but I'm thinking about the run-in now. I'm thinking about if we get to the play. Well, we will get to the playoffs.
But even under Carrick, do you not feel that we've overachieved already massively?
Do you know what? No.
Really?
I don't think we... I mean, I didn't expect it. When Carrick came in, I didn't expect this. But the way I saw us playing, the way I saw him getting the best out of the likes of Akpom, I'm suddenly starting to believe that, he's got something that the others hadn't have. And he's been able to spot this, and he's almost done a mini Brian Robson. He's brought the best out of players that we've got. Now, Robbo did it because he was Brian Robson and he was playing with them. He was player manager when he first came through the door. He wasn't just manager. And Carrick's manager. But I think I started to believe, I started to drink the Kool-Aid in a big way. And I thought, like you, we were unbeatable at that point, other than probably Burnley coming to town because they're an absolute class above anybody else. They are. But I'm just concerned now because I'm thinking, what is it, 5 games to go? Then it's the playoffs, and it's always a team who's in form that comes through. Forest did it as a bit of a dark horse coming through a while back. I just don't like the current form we're in going into the playoffs.
During a season, every team will have a blip, and our blip has unfortunately come right at the wrong point. I thought I saw it in the Stoke game. I thought I saw it in the Stoke game for the first time. A team that came and got tight to Akpom to stop him playing, identified a couple of weaknesses in our fullbacks and got behind them.
They pressed.
And I think every team's doing it now. We talked about this before we came on air. One of the team was saying that they spotted Giles as a weakness. And they spotted Tommy Smith as a weakness. And
they've had balls dropped over the top of them for the wingers to run past, and they've been caught out a few times like that. Rich Smith, evening all. Thought we were lucky to get anything out of Ashton Gate. Going 2 down, I honestly thought we were getting nothing. Completely agree. And I was delighted when it went to 2-2. But at 2-2, I became greedy, and I thought, we've got to score another one, surely. Particularly as I had a couple of quid on home team to win it at half-time and the away team to win the game.
I think everyone I know on that point, Dave,
28
had
2.5
plus goals,
yep.
Tuba to score, both teams to score. Everyone in my family had it on. So yeah, you're right. There's something a little worrying. Is it just typical Boro fans that Tuba can't score with his head at the moment?
Yeah.
That we do seem to suddenly start to feel a little bit insecure at the back, and we're making uncharacteristic errors. Hashtag Paddy McNair's fault. But it does seem that the optimism that we had, and Phil's right, you know, that kind of feeling of we've gone from are we going to get relegated and we've overachieved. We have overachieved. There has to be a bit of levelling out somewhere, and I just worry that typical Boro fans, how we have seen our levelling out happening right now.
Timing's not good, is it?
No, it's not. But I think.
Do you know? I'd much rather have not been anywhere near the playoffs. Until now,
that's my point.
We have the blip under Carrick when he first starts, no honeymoon period, and now we're coming through.
If when Carrick came in, we all said, let's write this season off, like fans do, let's write this season off because he's going to need a transfer window, he's going to need a pre-season. You know, the commentators on Monday night said exactly that. You know, Carrick has done an amazing job, 50 points that he's won Boro since he's been at the club, and he's done it without a pre-season. He's done it without. Having any idea who these players are until he's walked through the door. So we are overachieving. If you'd have said when Carrick took over on, was it the 29th of November or something, he's going to keep us up, we'll finish top half, based on what we'd watched at the Riverside under Wilder before he left,
your hand off
everybody would.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think
right.
we've just got so used to us playing so well, because not only have we been winning games, we have played unlike any Boro that anybody can remember. The amount of passes per game compared to the opposition, the shots, the creativity, the fact that when we're crossing balls in now, there are people in the box willing to get on the end of it. We're seeing a totally different style of play at the club. And I think we're all just, like you said, we're being greedy. We want more, we want more, we want more. If the season finished tomorrow and we were in 4th, I'd be saying, well, that's a bloody good job, well done.
Yeah. No, I don't mind us finishing 4th. I'm not greedy to the point of finishing 3rd, though I would have liked 2nd. 4th is good because it gives you that home tie second leg in the playoffs, which I think is vitally important. So 3rd or 4th, I'm happy with.
And sometimes, you know, finishing 4th means you avoid a team that has suddenly found a bit. We were just joking about who's in form. Norwich are sort of hot and cold. And if they're going to get into the playoffs, they need a run of form. So you wouldn't want to catch them at 6th, and you wouldn't want to catch Preston, perhaps, because their form's incredible at the moment. So if we finish 3rd, we might by default accidentally catch the informed team.
Preston
maybe
have
you
won
might
4,
be right. 4th could be
won
good.
4 and lost 1 in the last 5.
Kofi Marley sent in a message. Hi, Kof. At the start of the season, we were strong favourites to go up along with Burnley. Yeah, it was a bad start to the season, but this is where the team should be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I can't disagree. It's a good squad, isn't it? I think Joe, my little one plays FIFA, and he likes to simulate the season sometimes, and a couple of times he's done the championship recently. We've been at the top, Boro, so I do think there's some element of truth in that we were promotion favourites, or contenders at least, perhaps, with the players that we've got. But yeah, what Carrick has achieved, I mean, at one point, a few weeks back, we were the best performing team in all of Europe.
Yeah.
They were absolutely outstanding statistics.
The form since January the 1st, certainly in the 4 divisions of English football, We gathered the most points, scored the most goals, etc. Had the top goal scorer. We were outshining anybody in the Premier League. No. John Tandy Jackson. So it's taken teams 4 months to suss us out. I'm not having that. We've been excellent in that period. Sometimes in football you just need to reset. We've got 5 games left. Got to get back on it and take it forward to the playoffs. I'd love that to happen, mate. I really would. I'd love that to happen.
Do you know he's got a point, because without doubt, Hackney has suddenly found himself in a little bit of a drop of standards. He looks tired, he looks worn out, but who have we potentially got who has that little bit of spark and keeps the ball moving the way he does? So Carrick must be looking at him and his numbers and thinking, what can I do instead?
But I think the answer to that question is the second most assists in the Championship, having not played since he's arrived, in Barlaser.
Yeah.
Why bring him in if you're just going to leave him on the bench? My understanding, my thought process when he came in was Howson was in the last year of his contract. There'd probably be a bit of a handover. We'd see Howson less and less towards the end of the season, and we'd see this introduction of Barlaser, who can go on and then beat Giles for the most assists. He's not even coming onto the pitch.
No. That's how good we've been, though.
Yeah.
So
it's because of the good performances.
But if he's the second highest assister in the league,
even without playing for the last 8 games or so,
since he came in January, he's had a handful of appearances, then surely give Hackney the rest, bring him on, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't need to, it's not like he's learning, like Hackney is a young lad, he is learning his trade.
He's done phenomenally
in a professional manner.
Yeah.
Barlas has got that trade behind him, so surely he's the safer option in some of these games than just having Hackney take a booking. Because at some point, before the end of the season, he's going to end up being banned.
Yeah, he does tend to foul a lot, doesn't he?
He puts in a lot of dangerous tackles and ends up, he takes it, don't get me wrong, but if we get to the playoffs, I'd like to see Hackney there. I wouldn't like to see him not being involved.
There's no if with Emmett.
But Barlaser is your answer on the bench for me.
But then take Barlaser, so we've seen the alternative, at the back of the team. Dale Fry for me is a big miss.
Yeah,
I remember coming into this studio a few years ago when Dale Fry got that smack in the face and got sent off, and we talked about how much we're going to miss him because of the influence he has. He's quite calm in influence. He's the kind of Tony Mowbray to your Gary Pallister, the Ferdinand to your Vidic a little bit, with him and Lenihan, and I think we've really missed him. But obviously he's not fit. He's been ill. He's got an illness that he can't seem to shake off, and you wonder where else in the pitch have we got similar issues. At fullback, I wonder, for me, Tommy Smith and Giles could both do with a rest. So obviously he doesn't trust Bowler. Obviously he doesn't trust Dijksteel. I mean, if we believe what we were told in the transfer window, both Dijksteel and Paddy were open to offers. So he obviously doesn't trust them sufficiently enough, unless he desperately has to put them in. And I wonder if a Barlaser falls into that category at the moment. He doesn't trust them enough to do the job he needs, unless he really had to, because Hackney's suspended or injured. I think there's a difference with Barlaser. I think it's just a case of, okay, who are you going to drop? You're going to drop Howson, or or Hackney. But the pair of them have been playing really well. Apart from the last couple of games, we've seen the whole team's performance drop. So if you're going to bring Barlaser in, you're not going to put him out of position, are you? You're going to put him in there, in the centre, to orchestrate things. So who do you drop? I mean, Howson wasn't at his best at Bristol City, but he's been fantastic. That's why he's got himself another year's deal.
And the thing is, probably what we're not considered this week is one of those weeks where we've had 3 games.
Yeah, it's true.
In a week, you know, that second, third game, and it's not like we've played 3 of the bottom teams or 3 of the top teams. Huddersfield, who were fighting for lives, gave us a bloody good game.
Yeah.
Burnley, who need to win to win promotion, they gave us a bloody good game. Come Bristol, any other day, I think we'd have probably won. I just think a lot of the players on the pitch then were knackered because they've played 3 games in 7 days.
The other thing you have to take on that point, Phil, you make a very good point, mate, is the levels that Carrick has expected of his team. You know, the way that we play and the way that we press is really unseen outside of perhaps Burnley, who are a rarity. You know, they're going to break records, and anyone outside of the top of the Premier League. It really is high level intensity, high pressing. So they will be exhausted, some of these players. So yeah, you're right. Come up against the Burnley team and the Huddersfield team scrapping for their lives with some tired, worn out players, and it was going to be somewhere along the way. But I think because we have overachieved, I thought we would steamroll them and nick the points. So that's probably why it hurts us so much a little bit.
That's the point I made earlier on. Are we just expecting a bit too much now? You know. Are we expecting them to play and steamroll teams?
And 3 games without a win, forget the points damage to where we are in the table. Psychologically, what does that do to us?
I genuinely don't think it is doing as much as what people are implying. When you look at the first 13 games of the season, that was damaging.
Yeah.
And the likes of Giles, who 13 games in, looked like he'd given up hope running down that wing. He wasn't running, he wasn't putting balls in.
Yeah.
Every time he got the ball, he stopped, he put his foot in, he was looking for an easy pass. Yeah, we've not won in 3 games, but Giles, when he got on the ball at Bristol, was trying his best to whip a ball in and trying to get that cross in. He had a shot himself that he was unlucky with. We were still feeding balls. So I don't think going 3 games without a win is as psychologically damaging as what a lot of people are thinking. I think the start of the season would have done more damage than what we've seen now.
If it was Pulis and Wilder in charge, defeats do become psychologically damaging, because they're the kind of managers that really almost demand a certain job from a player, and if he doesn't do the job, he gets criticised. They're very critical managers. Wilder called people out. Pulis would call people out. Even Warnock to a little bit. Carrick doesn't have that character. Carrick encourages you to take the risk, and he encourages you to do things and keep doing things. And if it goes wrong, you start again. And so I can't imagine Carrick and his team, all the players, will be feeling the mental strain that we think they might have from the experiences that we've had of other managers. You know, like poor Assombalonga, when he was here and he didn't score and we were creating chance after chance, you could just see physically the confidence drain from his physique every time he was called out by the managers at the time. You don't see that, I don't think. Phil's just absolutely nailed it there. Giles in that second half kept looking to do what he knows he can do. However, that shot was awful. Wasn't it lucky?
It was, but yeah.
It was a poor shot. I think he had 2, didn't he?
Yeah.
They weren't very good.
Whistled just over.
And one was a bit of a side foot wide.
But I mean, and there's a comment there, Richard Smith just said, in relation to Stuart Gawley. So Stuart Gawley said, when we attack with speed, no one can stop us. When we slow down to walking pace, that's when we run into problems. I totally agree with that. Then Richard Smith said, in relation to Stuart Gawley's point, have we attacked at the speed that we know we can in the last 3 games? That's a great point, because I don't think we have.
Yeah,
but I think that's because against Huddersfield, I think we were a bit wary because we knew they were going to give it a go under Warnock, absolutely. And against Burnley, if we'd have attacked at the pace we had, it wouldn't have been 2-0. It would have been much higher.
However, in the Burnley game, I thought we gave a good account of ourselves. We pressed high up the pitch. We forced their goalkeeper to have to start putting the balls high in the air rather than go across the back. We really put the pressure on. And if it wasn't for, I think their first goal was offside.
Yeah,
I think their second goal was very lucky because Paddy, I'm sorry, we won't blame Paddy, but Paddy played them all onside, and then was the one in the box.
Say number 17.
Number 17. He was the one in the box who missed with the tackle. So I don't think we were a million miles off against Burnley, considering how good they really are. But yeah, we're not. That's a good point. Now we're not attacking with the same intensity, and I do feel as a team we aren't good enough when it is slow and having to knock the ball around. That stat that we were talking about earlier about the number of passes we've made, sometimes it's because we don't quite know what to do when we have to have a defence in front of us.
There was when we conceded both goals, I didn't react at all. Like
No,
I wasn't bothered, like because I knew at some point in the game we would have a chance.
Yeah.
What was really starting to infuriate me was the length of time Howson holds the ball to look for, like, he picks the ball up and he'll run one way where there's loads of space. Suddenly he's taken too long, he's been closed down, so he stops, he puts his foot on it, he turns it around, and then we end up going backwards. Any other player on the pitch, we're looking to move the ball fast, and that's what helps us with that direct play, that speedy build-up that people are referring to. But if you've got that one player that's just going to slow the game down while everybody else is going to try, and teams will exploit that. And their second goal was an example of that.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
We took that long on the ball, we lost the ball. Howson goes in for a tackle, they passed it straight to our defence and they threw it in on goal. If we move the ball as fast as well as we know we can, that doesn't happen.
So is that Howson dwelling on the ball, or is that no options for Howson to pass the ball?
I think he's got plenty of options. It's not. It wasn't just Bristol. There's a couple of games this season where you just see Howson. I don't know what it's like. He picks the ball up and he turns, but then he's looking for the pass rather than looking for the pass before he's got the ball, knowing where he's going to try and distribute. it's almost like he does it backwards, and then we get closed down, and suddenly we're having to pass the ball back.
I certainly agree in the Bristol game. There were 2 occasions I can picture what you're describing where he got the ball kind of about, 40 yards, 35 yards out. And for me, there was an obvious pass wide to Giles in particular, twice I can remember. And I thought he turned back on himself looking for a better option when... And again, Dave might have a point though, because Giles wasn't on fire in the first half. So, sometimes a player like Howson does look for the better opportunity. But yeah, he did dilly-dally. Is that another example of someone exhausted? Fatigue of the brain?
Yeah. He's not got young sprightly legs on him anymore, has he?
I don't
knock him because he's been class for us. He's been absolutely class in the years he's been here. So, but I just... That's a really frustrating part of the game that we're having to sit and watch through.
I mean, we're talking impossible changes, and we're talking Barlasser, and you're having a pop at Johnny Howson just for a couple of incidents. Oh, it wasn't a pop. You were highlighting that.
They'll slate me on this.
No, absolutely. But surely he's the man you'd want to play Norwich, isn't he? Former club.
Interestingly, I was talking to my father-in-law. Ian, how you doing, mate? Because he'll be watching. And he said to me how good Howson played at Wembley. I don't remember that.
I don't
remember Howson playing. We did. Played against us in the
I remember boxing it in the crossbar.
I remember us not getting to the stadium on time in the bus. So the players ended up having to walk into the last leg into the stadium.
Yeah, that's true. That did happen. But yeah, she'll be up for it, surely, against the previous club.
Any player that gets to a Wembley final is going to be up for it.
Yeah. Will Carrick take that into account? No, I'm saying Norwich coming. Would Carrick take that into account? Horses for courses, past team, extra motivation for somebody so you wouldn't drop them?
He's not that kind of person, is he? I don't think. He's too cool, too calculated.
Yeah, I don't know. He's going to be looking for a response, isn't he, Carrick? He knows
he's been looking for one for a couple of games now.
No, but that's it though, isn't it? And he's
I think that's why he's been tinkering a bit. He's been trying to find a solution to bring us back to where we were.
But I can't understand the decision to play Crooks up front against Bristol. I cannot fathom that decision.
No, because I'd pick Archer every time. However, it paid off.
It did.
Yeah, but he was just about to take him off.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
So perhaps you're not right then.
I'm not being funny.
He was going to change the system because it wasn't
up until
working.
the point that he scored, he was crap.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that.
He ran the ball out. He couldn't have been any closer to a camera, but he ran the ball out of play. Knowing how well Bristol set up, how well disciplined they are both on and off the ball. I mean, every time we got the ball past the halfway line, they had 11 players in 2 lines behind the ball. So even if we get the opportunity when they're on the attack to put a ball over the top and go on one of these quick attacks that people are referring to, I would still much rather the ball drop to somebody like Cameron Archer, who can run with the ball at his feet. And that's a defender's worst nightmare, having a player that can keep the ball at his feet and dribble as fast as he can.
Look at the disallowed goal.
Then Crooks,
exactly.
Kicks the ball 6 yards ahead of him to run onto. That's easy job for a defender, that, because they're not looking for the player, they just wait for the ball to be knocked ahead and he's going to clear it. So I'd have picked Archer all day long. I don't understand that.
But I could almost see the logic. I thought what would happen was he'd use Crooks a little bit, a bit of a backroom ram, and he'd wear them out and then bring Archer on when they're turning back towards their own goal. But obviously goals change the game, and once you go behind, your game plan's out the window. And going behind to Bristol City like we did, knowing that goal was coming a few times, we saw that goal coming. Bell down that left hand side, he kept getting nicer, kept finding space. It kind of didn't work, did it, with Crooks going up front?
And at the same time, if you're going to put Crooks up front on his own, he needs to know that he needs to be in and around the box. Him running off to the corner flag and trying to run beyond Giles to pick the ball up on the wing. If he's that guy, you're the guy that we're aiming for.
He's not the same striker as Archer.
Yeah.
Who will move around the front line. Yeah. He is going to be in the middle to receive the ball.
And that's where it should.
And it didn't.
Yeah. I was going to say, it should have been made clear to him, but he's a professional, he knows that. So
You tell him, Phil. Rich Smith, Johnny Howson needs to be given the forward option, quicker when holding the ball in midfield. Do I translate that into needs to get it forward quicker?
Which just confirm
which is exactly what you guys have been saying. Just looking at the league table then. So, yeah, Luton have gone above us. Is it 3 points now, the difference? Though we do have a better goal difference. So, if we were to pull one game back, then third place is possible. But I think there's a comfortable gap then between us and the rest. Are you feeling any pressure at all? Are you?
I wasn't this morning, but then I don't know why I'm on Facebook. in all the Boro groups, because all I've seen all day today.
If you weren't, mate, I wouldn't have got hold of you.
Well, I know, yeah, but it's ridiculous because all I've seen is people saying things like, "Well, we're blowing it now, haven't we? We're going to drop out the playoffs now." You think, where's that come from?
But I think that's just an example of fans. We've got so used to playing so well and being up there. And let's not forget, when we went to Sheffield United, we were challenging Sheffield United at that point for second. Yeah. And I think the disappointment is that we've yielded
three opportunities
so easily in fans' eyes, and I think that's the frustration.
Well, we're quite level-headed people, me and you, we think, and yet it still hurt us how much we've missed the chance. And I was including you in the wider us, but we're quite downhearted, and it affects you, doesn't it? And even as level-headed people, you know, there are some Boro fans who it's either black or white. You're either a success or you're not. You can't be both to some Boro fans. So it's either positive or negative. So I can see why people are worried, especially like we said, when we've got Norwich to come and Preston are on form. We currently can't seem to pick up a win. But then look at Sheffield United as a prime example. We all looked at them and thought, oh, it's happening again. They're capitulating, and they've just found it. They ground out a result and they've found it again, and we'll do it. Start this Friday, Dave.
Well, let's look at this. Let's look at this Friday then. I mean, we're talking Norwich.
Constantly show Ryan Giles the goal that he scored against them earlier on in the season.
That's it. Is it? Yeah. That's key to the
just keep
prep.
showing him that, Ryan. Look at this. Just keep looking at this and just get it in you. That's what you need to do.
Concerned?
No, I don't think. The thing is, before this season, before Carrick took over, I looked at fixtures and was like, we'll get a win there. We'll win there. That might. There's no team. It started with Blackburn between Christmas and New Year. My mate said, are you worried about... I was like, no, there's no reason to look at any team that we're going up against at the minute and worrying based on where we were at the time and where we've gone on to be. I just hope it's a good game. I don't mind getting beat. We are going to get beat. We're not the best team in
You're talking generally here, aren't you? You're not
rather
talking
than
against
Friday,
Norwich.
I don't mind getting beat, even on Friday. As long as we can all stand there and say, you know, we've given it a go. You know,
and that's what was positive about Monday, wasn't it? I think that yes, we didn't get the result we wanted, but the second half was a bit more like us again. It was us thinking, right, come on, boys, we've had a bit of a mess up here. Let's play like we can.
And I think fans go home happy with that because they can see the change from the first half to the second half. Yeah. You know, if we get beat on Friday,
a bit like Burnley. I think we were better second half against Burnley than we were first half.
Yeah, and I mean, look at West Brom. When we played West Brom away, we conceded 2 goals in 10 minutes at the start of the game. I don't mind losing 2-0 to West Brom at all. What was really annoying was we conceded 2 goals in 10 minutes inside the first 10 minutes. We then had 80 minutes to put that right, and we didn't change anything. It was just sloppy play all day long. That's what I think frustrates you. You sort of look at the clock and you're like, I mean, when we went 1-0 down against Blackburn, and the commentary team that were on that game were making out like there was 5 minutes left. We had 86 minutes to play, but they were making out like, you know, Boro did well, but they've conceded. Mate, there's 86 minutes to play. Give us a chance. You know. So, take it as it comes, as long as it's a good game. I'd like to see us win. I'd like 3 points. I'd like to batter them just for those fans that think that we're dropping it, we're losing it. Yeah. Just to shut them up more than anything.
Well, you mentioned early on, Dave, you made a comparison to Karanka. You said how good we were under Karanka when we talked about how well we've played. Karanka was famously poor at changing the game. Whenever we, like, as an example, the Norwich.
And I actually meant that final was the start. Karanka was the start of what we got used to.
Yes.
Right the way up until Carrick.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by bringing Karanka into the equation.
Well, the point I'm making is that he's a prime example of never knowing how to change a game. We used to shout plan B at him and attack. And is that the same with Carrick? Are we seeing that? Are we seeing the first shortcomings of Michael Carrick's reign?
Look at that game under Karanka, where the fans were demanding that
West Ham at the Riverside.
Was it Paddy played alongside Jordan Rhodes, and then he did, and in his post-match he was like, "You asked for it, I've done it."
He did.
Do you remember?
Yep, I do remember.
Because fans kept saying, "Why aren't we?" Because we were playing either Jordan Rhodes or Patrick Bamford. He would never play them both. So he did that game, and at the end of the game, his press conference came out and it was like, "You asked for it, I've done it. It didn't work. Can you just let me do my job now?"
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where else we can go from here, fellas. I mean, it's.
I'll give you an idea.
We were gonna chat about, looking at who's on loan, who's got time left on their contract 1 year. But I think we're a bit with 5 games to go, possibly another 3 after. Probably a bit early for that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. A lot can happen. Nothing can happen anyway until the summer, so we can sit and speculate, and we know, or we think we know the players that are in the last year of the contract, and but like with Akpom, that can change.
Well, the question is, Phil, of that list, if we just quickly look at it, is there any you'd keep other than the obvious? I mean, Akpom. Who's got a year left?
I'd love someone to come and offer us 20 mil for Akpom.
You'd take it, wouldn't you?
I would, yeah.
Yeah, you would. You'd take it because you could do a lot of money with a lot of good with that money.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not fussed about Fry. I'm not going to lie. I'm not fussed about McNair, Bowler. Crooks was under Wilder. Crooks was a decent player, especially last season. He was probably one of our better consistent players this season. I know you can't really have consistency if you're not regularly in the team, but he's come on, he's scored important goals where he's needed to. He scored another one for us on Friday. But he's another one where I'm sort of indifferent. If he leaves, he leaves.
Yeah,
I think we've got better players in and around the squad now than what Crooks can be.
We've got better players on loan, though. Is that potentially a problem for us?
Whichever way you look at it, if we don't go up, or if we go up, there's a massive rebuilding job needs doing in Carrick's model. The kind of players he wants. And I think it's regardless of who stays or goes, Carrick will be looking at it and thinking we need to spend a bit of money. We need to go out and get numbers in, volume in.
But how much money though? Because the transfer fees, up until a couple of years ago, the transfer fees were reserved for Premier League players. If we sold Chuba Akpom, 20 million for Chuba Akpom, 26 goals off 25 goals this season, is 20 million. Is that what you think his price tag would be, scoring 25 goals in the Championship season?
I'm just saying, if somebody offered
less than $1 million a goal.
If somebody offered it, I'd take it.
He'd score in the Premier League. He'd score goals at the lower reach of the Premier League for someone. He's worth 20 million quid to someone, no doubt.
But are we not selling ourselves short there?
What could you do with £20 million in a Championship?
I don't think a lot.
Well, but if you look at what Burnley have done and some of the players they've brought in, they haven't spent that much money in reality. The players that he's brought from Belgium, we could very easily spread that money across 3 or 4 really good quality players who could do a quality job in positions that we need, and perhaps not miss the 20 odd goals that Chuba's brought in. Let's be honest with ourselves. At the start of the season, Chuba, we didn't think even was going to be here.
No.
And
he didn't have a number. Didn't have a shirt number.
And is there still a couple more gems in our squad that Carrick could work with? That mean we don't have to spend huge amounts of money to replace a Chuba Akpom release. So you don't know where Carrick's thinking is. I think. I mean, we all like to think that he could do a Brian Robson and go and pull a few favours, maybe from Man United or some of his old clubs, and he knows a few kids who could come and do a job.
And he can attract. Maybe not as much as Brian Robson could attract, but he can attract because he's Michael Carrick. He's been there. He's worn that shirt. He's well known around the world. He's won the silverware.
It's funny you say that. I agree completely because when we saw the Hall of Famers list come out, I genuinely hadn't remembered. I must have known this, but how good Carrick really was. The number of games he's played at the highest level, the number of Champions League games he's played, the number of games Man United won when he was in the team, the number of England caps, the number of trophies. He is bona fide a world-class Premier League player. And when I say world-class, I don't mean he's in world-class levels of like Zidane or Seedorf or those kind of midfielders. But in Premier League terms, he's really at the top high echelons. So perhaps he does have the clout that perhaps Robson did when we were younger. To people like Janino, perhaps he could pull a few people in who think, oh, I'd work for him, I'd play for him.
I think the problem now, though, is clubs, higher level clubs, Premier League, European clubs, have so much money. you saw it with Neymar. Neymar was new fresh on the scene, played at, was it Santos or whatever. Next big thing, Barcelona go in and snap him up for a ridiculous amount of money. Real Madrid did it with Odegaard, paid like 80 million for a 16-year-old kid. So Carrick may be aware of certain players, but the chances are by the time Carrick's been able to get them on the blower or whatever, they've already signed a pre-contract for 120 million with PSG or Man City. And,
but you need,
so that just wipes out
superstar names to succeed. I mean, Brighton have had a good run. Without any real superstar names. I mean, Leicester won the Premier League.
Are we there yet, though, Dave? That's the question. You know, when Brighton came here and beat us, well and truly beat us,
5-1, yeah.
The difference in where we've gone in the last 5 years from when we got relegated and then went back up has been astronomical. And it's probably, we've got that level of job. Scott has got a job to do. And if Carrick's here for the long term, he's got a job to do. And I think we're being a little bit, you know, going up will be brilliant for us because we'll earn a lot of money and it will probably help us put some foundations in place. But we probably need to do what Brighton have done, scour the world and put networks in place to find the best young starlets, and we're the club that they come to before Barcelona snaps them up. And that's what the job is that we need to do. I mean, your mate Janino must remember that we had a deal with Ichuano and the other club he was with. I don't know if that still exists.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? There was these things that we did, and I don't know if they're still there.
But that creates issues with trying to find these wonder kids, because many elite level teams now have these feeder clubs, don't they? Have these partnerships with another league in a different country, an elite level where they might sign for Man City, but they'll go and play for Stade Reims or whatever it is for 6 months first, and once they've brought them up to a level, then you'll go to City and join a pre-season, and then never end up seeing these kids.
But it is possible without those connections. It is possible without the huge tens of millions of pounds to sign a single player. There was a comment made last week, was it on here? I don't know, did I hear it on the radio or something, where somebody said, how on earth can we be put to the sword by a team that's bloody brilliant, we're talking Burnley here, where nobody can name a single player? You know, they're not a team of superstars.
No, they're not.
Yet they are head and shoulders above anybody else in the Premier League, there, slip of the tongue, in the Championship. And you look at Brighton, I mean, how many superstars are at Brighton? Bournemouth are struggling.
One now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it is possible to do it.
Only because he won so
But what's the secret to doing it? I think that's what we
the
need to
secret
find.
to doing it. I mean, even though Sean Dyche gets a lot of pelters, Burnley have been in the Premier League for a very long time, and they've been spending a lot of money behind the scenes on getting it right. What have we done since we got relegated? We've made an absolute hash.
We were going to smash the league.
I was just going to say that exact comment. We absolutely threw money at one of the worst managers we could have ever employed in Monk. Let's be honest. He's watching, Gary. I'm sorry, but it's true. It was terrible, and the players he signed and the money he spent put us back 3-4 years. The swapping and changing, going to Tony Pulis to make us solid and hard to beat, then bringing in Woodgate to go for this golden thread, then chopping that up to bring Warnock in, then putting money towards Warnock, and then thinking, oh, we've had our head turned by the beautiful looking Chris Wilder. Let's do the dirty on him. Yeah. And we've just chopped and changed. We've become the kind of team that Gibson always made the promise to me as a fan. I always felt that he would make it about youngsters, about the local community. And we've chopped and changed from all the things I don't like about football. And suddenly we found ourselves here 6 years later after getting relegated, and we're still no further forward. And it's got to be what you're talking about, Dave. It's got to be the Brighton model, the Burnley model, the other club models that we put in place.
When I was growing up, Gibson was one for giving managers a chance. In the 2 years that Red Army was on a break for COVID, we've had 5 managers.
Correct.
That's horrendous turnover. Yet here we are.
And I'm glad I heard Warnock say that Gibson got in touch with him and apologised for the way he treated him. Because for me, there's been a couple of elements of real classless actions from the club. And I sometimes feel that I've always been proud of the fact that we're Middlesbrough and we're different, and we've always got young kids in the team, and we've always got Steve Gibson, who everyone wants to work for. And I feel we've lost a lot of that in the last few years. So I'm glad we've gone for a young English manager in Carrick. I'm glad we've got a plan of Scott putting some youngsters in place. And you know what? It might have to be that this excitement we've experienced just has to temper back a bit, go back on the simmer. We don't go up this season. We might not go up next season, but there will be sustained quality over the next couple of seasons. Of course, a Premier League jaunt now wouldn't come back down with 150 million would be great.
Well, you can't. I mean, exactly. I mean, it was exactly the same with Karanka, wasn't it? It's one season wonder in the Premier League and you're back down again, but at least you've got parachute payments.
Yeah.
The problem there, though, is look at the calibre of teams that are potentially going to come down from the Premier League this season. I mean,
don't we say this every year?
No, but every year there's not a chance that Chelsea can go down. There's not a chance that Everton can go down. They're two teams. Chelsea are a team that can be relegated.
They won't be.
Wow,
we
imagine
hope
that.
not.
They're at Real Madrid tonight, but in
Yeah.
3 weeks' time they're in the bottom 3. Now, that would be nice, because I don't like Chelsea. That would be nice.
Well, I've never forgiven them
I
for
mean,
the
yeah,
cup
for
final,
Stamford Bridge and the
the
cup
Wembley
final.
defeats, yeah.
And not just the teams. Look at the calibre of players coming down. Jordan Pickford's just signed a new contract at 4-year extension at Everton without a relegation release clause. Why would you do that?
Because he never thought they would.
Well,
Lampard probably doesn't think that.
is
that
there
they
a
would,
salary
but there's a chance they can.
reduction clause if they get relegated? I'm sure there isn't. So I'd sign a long-term
But every
contract.
season, a quality team comes down. And recently, we've seen the trend booked
That's
a
the
little bit. That's the one.
Yeah.
Where someone's come down and pretty much romped it. Fulham, Burnley this season, which doesn't often happen. Sheffield United, they're going to go up in second place, and they've done quite well. So, yeah, a team might come down, but at the same token, teams come down and absolutely capitulate. And
Yeah.
we've seen that more often than not. That a
Yeah,
team
yeah.
falls apart and doesn't cope with the championship.
So where are your heads now then? I mean, it's all right us chewing the cud like this. It's brilliant. But do you genuinely think we'll be in the playoff final?
Who are we getting? Who are we going to get? Millwall, Luton, Preston,
Luton are going to be up there. aren't they?
Blackburn.
Preston will be in there.
Well, that's
At the
your
expense
four,
of
then,
Blackburn,
Luton,
is it?
Middlesbrough, Millwall, and Blackburn. Preston.
Cool, imagine if Preston pipped Blackburn right at the end.
Be hell on it in Lancashire.
Wouldn't it just? But
But-
it could happen. I mean, look at Blackburn's form.
All teams we've beaten at least once this season. So it's
When
not-
we were
it's
on
not
form.
And we beat Norwich.
in the last minute.
In both games, we were the better team. They scored early on with an uncharacteristic mistake by Ayala, and we didn't have a plan B. What have we just been talking about? Oh my God. We've seen it repeat itself. We've been the better team all season far. Uncharacteristic mistakes. And
No,
we
but
haven't got a
remember,
plan B.
lightning never strikes twice.
Get him on the blower.
Yeah. So what do you think? Where's your head at the
Yeah,
moment?
I think
If we'd have gone 3 games previous, we'd have all been saying, yeah, of course, we're still going for second spot. Of course we'll be
I
in the...
don't think we were ever going to win against Burnley. I don't think we were ever going to draw against Burnley. I think they came here, they were going to win. But when you look at Huddersfield, 3 points lost, Bristol, 2 points dropped. It's 5 points where we are now.
Paul Burke's
I would
confident.
like to play.
He
What's
says
Burke saying?
we'll beat anyone in the playoffs.
I would like to play Blackburn in the final.
Yeah,
I think we'll
what's
get
the
to the
reason?
final.
What's the reason for
I
that?
just think Millwall. I think the Millwall are like a bullyish sort of team. They like to tackle hard.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Every game we play against them, and what really annoys me is we as the fans know that that's the type of football Millwall play.
Well,
but it's like the players on the pitch don't, and so they start to be. George Saville's one of the worst for it.
Yeah.
Always leaves a boot in. Always comes in and puts a bit more pressure in the tackle, knowing that somebody's going to end up on the floor. Yet we stand up and we brush it off, and we might have a whinge to the ref, but we never give it back to them.
And the teams that we've struggled against in recent weeks when we have got a bit tired have been Burnley, who were awesome, Huddersfield, who just absolutely went at us.
They
both
worked their socks
starts, they
off,
worked
yeah.
their socks off, and we just couldn't cope. And the other thing was like things
And
like
Stoke, very similar.
Stoke, I was just going
Yeah.
to say, the other team, the look of the bounce that Huddersfield got for 2 of their goals, sometimes when you looks out and a team's at you, the bounce goes against you. I felt that against Bristol. I thought that set the goal where we were talking about, where Lenihan fell over, got up, tried to tackle him again. Paddy came steaming in, took out Lenihan and himself.
And
we don't need to
that
play
was
a
just a
Millwall,
dodgy
do we?
deflection, wasn't it? Lenihan falls over, he stands up, the ball hits him, falls to the player. Then he's panicking, thinking, I need to make this as McNair's, and then you're right. Lenihan ends up on top of McNair, and suddenly
There's a huge gap.
Tommy Smith's got 3 players
Yeah.
to try and defend against.
Well, the point you're making is a Millwall will be that kind of team who will come at us and say, well, are we then?
Yeah.
We're going to outfight you in every position and we're going to make it horrible. Whereas Blackburn will probably try and play football.
I think Blackburn have a similar style of play to us, and I think that would
and
suit
Luton
us
do
better.
too,
Yeah.
which might suit us better. So let's avoid Millwall. Plus, it means we don't go on a nasty trip away to London on a Tuesday night
That's
in the
what I
middle
was
of May
thinking.
when there's strikes on the trains.
And not just that, going to London for a Wembley final against Millwall. Come on, never.
Yeah.
Can't. possibly. Please, wouldn't be pleasant. So we get into the final, then. We still haven't got there.
Yeah, we'll get to the final.
Okay.
We've got
we'll get
enough
the
in us,
final.
haven't we? And Carrick will get it right. We'll win on Friday. I think I think we might have a bit of a battling win. We might bully them a bit, confidence boosting, and then we'll go to Wembley. Will we go up, Phil?
See, before I answer that, what I'm going to say is you're saying potentially Millwall in the playoff final in London.
No, I don't think it will be.
During
I'll be
the-
honest. I
during
think,
the
Luton, I think
playoffs.
Luton will be in there.
During the playoffs, where there's two legs, can you be bothered going to Luton or Millwall anyway? Like, out of the two, if you want Blackburn in the final, you're either going to play Luton or you're going to play Millwall in the semi-final. So,
I don't think we'll get Blackburn in the final. I genuinely think Luton will make it.
Yeah, I think Blackburn will end up losing.
It's a good point because I went to Wembley a few weeks ago, and when you start to tot up the train fare, the hotel, the beer, the food, £500, £600 worth of cost. We were joking about hotels, weren't we? For Wembley?
We've
already booked.
Yeah. I've had to change it because we all believed it was going to be the
right,
The Monday, yeah.
Anyway, I've changed it to the travel down on the Saturday morning, chill out at the hotel for a bit on Wembley Way. And that's still £300 for one night.
Yeah. So again, it's a trip that I'm going to take my little boy. We're going to spend maybe $600-700. Janino, yeah. He'll be watching. Hey son, he'll wonder what the hell's going on. Like, where are you watching? But and to have another London trip will be difficult for a lot of fans. Yeah. So I really hope it's a local. I really hope it's Blackburn, because will Blackburn give us 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 tickets to take over an away end in a
They'll
playoff
give us
game?
a full end, won't they?
Yeah, I think
they normally do.
They normally do. That could be a little bit special, couldn't it? Because our history in playoffs, apart from the '88 playoffs at Stamford Bridge,
How was that?
the Battle of Stamford Bridge is not very good, is it? Really? Apart from one good game against Brentford in 2014, it's about it. I can't remember any really good battles in the playoffs.
I remember that Stamford Bridge one. I remember game all finished. I was at King's Cross Station to come back home, and spending a penny, and there's this guy next to me, and I can't repeat exactly what he said, but it was along the lines of, those northern people, I wish I could get my hands on them. So I just thought I'd zip them out at that point and get out quick. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant. And when they ran on the field, and that's history, old man's history, that one.
But I think the point Phil's making is we want to avoid Millwall for many reasons.
Yeah.
London trip, hard team to beat. Yeah. Could there be a bit of trouble?
Nasty
bit
of
Boro fans down there all day having a drink, won't back down. So let's avoid Millwall. Let's get a team who potentially we can take a lot of fans, put on a good show, because they'll probably play football and don't know any other way to play them. Which is
it'll be a good day
Blackburn
out, whether it's home or away. When they come to us, it'll be a good day out for them. When we go to theirs, it'll be a good day out for us.
Yeah.
And I think I would prefer Blackburn.
Well,
but then I would prefer
Blackburn Preston could be a good day out.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Anything else, fellas, before we wrap up?
Just the EFL awards.
Oh, of course, forgot all about them. Yeah, congratulations, Boro.
Yeah.
4 awards, nominated for 4 awards. I think we'll get 1.
Which one?
Tuba.
Do you not think we got? I think we got a chance of winning all of them.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I really do. I think
I just think Vincent Kompany's going to take manager of the year.
Company's going to get manager.
Well, you made the point that Kompany had a pre-season, had parachute payments, had a quality squad to start building on anyway. Even though he hasn't really kept a lot of those things, he's built on them.
Yeah, it is a fair point, but will he see that?
What he's done, well, who won it last season? Did Cooper win it last season?
I can't remember.
From Forest with his turnaround? Because
Is
Scarrick's turnarounds.
Is he the ugliest man
Well,
in football?
he'd win that award, hands down.
Yeah.
He fell down the ugly tree and hit every branch on the
He
way
did,
down,
didn't
and
he?
he climbed back up
Absolutely.
it. But Carrick's job has been astronomical.
It has.
The points we were making about the best performing team in Europe, the turnaround in points, ridiculously good. So I don't know.
I agree with you, actually, but looking at the AFL and the way that they're going to do it over the course of the season.
Of course, yeah.
They will
Not over the course of the tenure.
You're right.
Well, it happened with Juninho, didn't it? When he was in the Premier League and the awards that first season.
I think 3 out of 4 then.
And the little Italian took it because he played for Chelsea. It's
And I think an important one there is the Diversity Award. I think the club have done a lot over the last couple of years. It's about inclusivity, it's about LGBTQ+, it's about the minority ethnic supporters groups.
Well, both of those groups are now represented at our forums,
disabled
aren't
supporters,
they?
it's about supporters groups from the south, from different, it's about how inclusive we are as a club, and I think I'm quite proud that we are as inclusive as a set of fans as what we are. So, you know, I'd love the club to win that one.
Okay, cool. Congratulations, Boro, for getting 4 nominations. Fellas, we'll keep our fingers crossed. We're off to a staff party tomorrow night. That's why we couldn't do the show tomorrow night. So we'll enjoy that. And then it's Norwich. Yeah, our own awards, yeah. And then it's Norwich come to town. So fingers crossed, Friday night. Don't care if it's a scrappy 1-0. If it's a scrappy 1-0 and we get 3 points, it's just going to add. It's just going to build to that confidence. Because we need to get on a decent run now, positive run, coming to the end of the season. Thank you, fellas. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week.